a winter self-care ritual. I don't know if this is that, but it is self-care that has pulled me through 2023 in the most unusual of ways. So 2023 started with a voice inside of me beckoning me outside, beckoning me to places of nostalgia, to places of the past, places of my childhood, to old long forgotten memories. It felt like there were different people calling me back to the familiar, back to where I once had walked. And you would have seen me on my channel exploring some of these, in particular the call back to my first childhood home where I lived up to the age of 7, and Hayden Hill. You will have seen a soul story possibly filmed in Hayden Hill Park, where I felt like the voice clamouring was the voice of the ghost in the hall there, the ghost of the Blue Lady. So I went back a few times with my tarot deck. I collected water from the site, which is in here. I even collected soil at the site, and when I put my hand into the soil to grab it, a coin came out. These look like horcruxes from the Harry Potter film, where Voldemort split his soul into different parts and hid them in different places and different items. This one in particular, I laughed. This just looks like it's about to be stabbed with some sort of magical fang to take the power out of it. And I got to thinking about why I had been pulled back to these sites and what I had learned visiting them. So we're talking about Hayden Hill, the memories that this unlocked, and the fate of the characters in the story of the hall talks about sibling cruelty, and it unlocked a part of me that would hide from my brother and sister, who constantly terrorized me with tales of the Blue Lady when I was young, even resulting in me toppling head over heels down a huge staircase because they were waiting for me at the top to jump out, pretending to be the ghost. And it just opened up an image of me sat on that staircase, having fallen down, bewildered and upset that they kept doing it. And I felt like that little girl was in Hayden Hill, and I went back and I felt like I reclaimed that girl, and the Blue Lady came with me. I have water in here. This feels like the Blue Lady's essence. Feels like she was always the spirit calling me to be braver. So they do feel like horcruxes to me now, but they feel like reclaimed parts of my 5-year-old terrorized self. That was visiting Hayden Hill, but it's not just been that. I have spent, I cannot even begin to tell you how many hours on Google Earth rewalking memories of my past, visiting old houses I once lived in, finding a memory and tracking it down. I've joined local history sites on YouTube just to watch them walk the streets where I once walked. I've joined channels of local drone video makers just to see old gardens I once played in. It has consumed me, and the voices contained within the memories that have prompted me to get up in the middle of the night and start searching for maps or drone footage have called like a part of my own soul, like a horcrux calling out. One night, having woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning, saw me finding a video of drone footage going up the old street where I lived, and it flew over my garden, and all those hazy memories of sitting behind this strange secret wall and looking at graves, which I thought was just my imagination, because we moved from that house when I was about 5, so my memories are very hazy. Looking at the drone footage, I immediately saw a cemetery backing onto the garden wall, and I knew which garden wall was mine because I recognised the pattern of the gravestones. All this year, the call of bones, the call of cemeteries, the call of graveyards has beckoned, and I've wondered where it's coming from. And yet my first 5 years of life, I would sit alone on that back wall in my garden looking at the graves. I grew up with graves and the cemetery as my earliest companion, and that little girl sitting on the wall, suddenly I realised it was her voice calling me to wake up and remember. There is another horcrux there I need to revisit and see if I can get into that cemetery and get to the garden wall. I feel like I am reclaiming the lost parts of me that got stifled, that got terrorised, and that got left behind. I think now I am in a place of healing. Those soul retrieval parts are reaching out to me with answers and with voices and with calls back in time. There is a call to magic in returning, in going back, in revisiting, in listening to the voices of the past and nostalgia. I feel, especially if you feel along the way you have had to drop parts of yourself to be safe. I think at any point where you felt squashed or broken or shocked, or where there's been some extreme emotional mistreatment, I think there are parts of you, horcruxes if you will, that can get dropped and might need retrieving. This is what I've been doing all year, it feels. This is why the dolls have been so important. It has been a focus point for me to focus on the horcruxes that are out there. You saw in my last video me working with my 7-year-old self, my doll, with a glimmer globe. That's all part of that self-care ritual of reclaiming parts that may have been lost or forgotten. What I didn't realise was how many answers they would be holding, how many aha moments, how much retrieved power, how much magic. I think going back and saving a lost part, reclaiming the horcrux and bringing it back in, it makes it extra powerful because you've had to walk a warpath to remember it, to hear it, to discover it, to fight your way back to it. You reclaim it as a warrior queen, and that is mighty powerful. So I know this isn't really a self-care spell or a self-care routine, but it is a call to action that I'm placing before you. This is a quest, a self-care quest. Do you have personal horcruxes you need to go hunting for? Are they already calling to you? Are you listening to the voices, or are you dismissing it as just your imagination, or perhaps madness, which I have at times wondered this year? I'm not wondering anymore because of the power and the incredible experiences I'm having and the answers that I'm getting with each horcrux saved and returned to me. Embrace the power of your imagination. If there is something stirring in your imagination, don't dismiss it as unreal. Your land of the imagination is very real in magical terms. So give your imagination the respect and adherence that it deserves, really. Number 2, do listen carefully to the whispers in your mind. They may be voices calling from the past, voices that will lead you out on a quest. Look for coincidence and synchronicity. There is often a calling to something when those things happen. I think the more you believe in magic, and another level of beingness around you, then synchronicities and coincidences cease to be just that. So look for where the synchronicities are. Look for the callings of your curiosity. If you are suddenly obsessed with curiosity about something, follow it. Follow the story to its end point. It may be that your curiosity is being pulled like a thread on a spider's web to get your attention. It might not just be curiosity. There might be something at the other end of it. There may even be a lost part of you. Look at local history. If there is a building that you can't stop obsessing about, or a place or an event, research it. Follow these stories to their end. You never know what might open up for you on a quest for horcruxes. Number 6, journal your imagination, journal your memories returning, write them down. Memories, I find, are very ethereal. They float in like wisps of cloud, but they can float out again just as quick. Just because you remembered in one moment doesn't mean they won't be gone in another. Keep a journal of memory flashes. That will aid you on your quest. It's like drawing down a map. Use tools. I have used Google Maps and Google Earth to zone in on street view and to walk the streets until I've remembered. That's been amazing, really, to do that, to track down the hint of a memory and to physically go there on Google Maps initially just to see, why am I being called back to that memory? So Google Maps. So there are YouTube channels out there, like I said before, that just do drone footage of different areas. So search drone footage of the area that you're interested in. Join local history groups. All of that gives you map drawing abilities back to your own personal horcrux. The call of objects. This started in my doll room and I didn't even realise. I suddenly went on a quest to find my old childhood toys that had been thrown away. And even one night I sat upright in bed. It was about 2 o'clock. I woke up and I just had a vision of a toy with a pull string that made it talk. All I could see in my mind was a white string and a white circle that you held and pulled, and it spoke. And I thought it was a clown of some type, and I spent an hour Googling and I found the Mattel Bozo the Clown talking toy, which was one of my all-time favourite toys ever. You can see Blue Boy up here. That was another memory that came to me. I think reclaiming lost things from the past is also an amazing thing to do. So you can find maps back to these memories and to these lost parts of yourself in objects and toys. Think about where your stomach dropped, where your world fell out of the bottom of your feet, the shock moments, the horrid moments, the awful moments. These are often places where bits of you will drop away, where bits of you will become lost. With loving curiosity, revisit those moments and see if there are any horcruxes there left behind. So I'm calling you on a self-care quest for the coming year to track down personal horcruxes as a self-care ritual, to bring all the parts of you back, to shower them with love and understanding, a collective loving embrace for all the parts of you that may have been lost. But it also comes with a warning. Do not camp out there. Do not return and stay. We are going back to places of nostalgia to find ourselves and come back to the present with it. Do not ruminate on the stories. Do not obsess on the map drawing. Find a story, visit, find the answers, collect your horcrux and come back to your brighter future. We are collecting horcruxes, not returning and camping out with them. Because this is supposed to be a winter self-care ritual, I'm going to share with you a hunt for horcrux that I recently did that blew my mind, and it shows you how when you do it there are answers waiting that you can't quite get your head around. So I decided to think about one of those moments where the world fell out of my heart and my stomach dropped and a part of me broke. And because we're in Yule, I thought, was there anything that happened around winter, Christmas, Yule time where that happened? And immediately a memory came to mind of when I was still married, and Christmas was very much used as a tool to show me that I wasn't important at all. And one Christmas I was given, I don't think I was even given £1. I was given 80p. All money was always kept from me. I was given like £1 or something like that to go and buy myself Christmas presents from the kids. Literally, I was given that because the kids would always get upset if I had nothing. So every year I tried to scour charity shops for 10p things or 20p things just to wrap up for the kids to give me. And I knew that in the town where my oldest daughter goes to school, there is a really cheap charity shop that had a 10p crate in there. I can remember just feeling so unimportant and so discarded and so unloved in the place where I should have felt the most loved. And I think then a little bit of me did drop off. The bit that wanted to feel important, I think, gave up. So I was thinking about that for this challenge, and I decided to stop off on the way to my daughter's carol concert at the same school. She's still there. And to stop off at the same charity shop, to go in now with my own money and with my own power, and to see what was in there to buy for myself at whatever price it was. And I have got a bag full of stuff to share with you for what I bought and the answers that are within the things I bought. I reclaimed the horcrux that was in that shop, feeling unimportant, looking for things under 20p, and I went in and I scooped her up and gave her full run of the shop, and we just saw what we could find, and within them there were answers. And I've saved opening the bag of stuff to share with you guys, because I think it's really important to show you what happens when you trust the quest. So the first thing is this beautiful lantern that takes a tea light. I felt like the butterfly symbol, a bit like the blue lady or my earth with the coin in. This felt very much like a horcrux box, but with the idea of transformation. My life is now transformed from that poor soul that would put up with that behaviour and had had all the fight kicked out of her, to the person I am now and the power that I own now. It just seemed really fitting that I would find a lantern to welcome in the light, surrounded by butterflies of transformation. That was my first message. The next thing I found, I'd been wanting for a while a vase that would take foraged items like leaves or branches, things that don't need water. I've only got a few vases and I buy the girls flowers every other week, so they're always in use. But on the next shelf down, for £3.50, look, I'm already 3.5 times over my old designated budget. I found this wooden vase. Now, I wouldn't put water in this because it's wood, but for dry items like branches or foraged leaves, it just was exactly what I was looking for. So that felt truly like a hug again. So at this point, I was walking around the shop feeling like my horcrux had come back and I was just being enveloped in love. And I turned the corner and this was hanging up. This was £1.50, this beaded heart. Now, I used to make beaded textiles all the time, and this just felt like a call back to my own creativity that I wasn't allowed to do when I was married. I wasn't allowed the space or the money or the time, and again, it was a reminder that look how far you've come. You now have your own art studio. I've said before on this channel that I like to keep a red candle or something red burning over by my Morrigan doll, because to escape my marriage is when the Morrigan really stepped in for me in the most supernatural and otherworldly way, even to the point that when I walked out of court after 6 court hearings, after a 6-year divorce, me and my divorce lawyer, who I grew to really love, we were both surrounded by hundreds of crows flew down, and we danced and walked through the crows back to her office. It was the most incredible moment. I just felt like there should be something in there to do with the Morrigan. I went in there thinking, I hope there's a red candle, but I found something way better than that. Look at this. This was £3, and this is a red chandelier which you can put night lights in and to light up red. I saw it immediately and it felt like Harry Potter finding a horcrux. It felt like it was singing out to me, and I just knew it was bizarre. I knew when I walked in there would be something red to do with candles for the Morrigan. It was whispering to me before I even walked in the shop, and I just think that was an amazing find. And then I turned the corner and I collect swans. I have always collected swans. Swans for me are a sign of hope, and they also represent elegance on the top but mayhem underneath the surface, which represents what I feel special needs parenting feels like. And I did think, I wonder if there's going to be a swan in here as well. And I found this, a mother swan on her nest with all her little babies underneath. This just for me represents my little team of me and the kids that had to rebuild, and we did it so amazingly well. Now, this last thing that I bought was actually in the glass cabinet. Sometimes in UK charity shops, if they know something's worth something, they will put it inside a glass cabinet. Now, this is one of those items from childhood that I've said keeps calling and calling, like Blue Boy. I said to you, like, sometimes it's a call in objects. I had been searching for this for about 3 years, and its call was getting really, really loud. And this is going back to memories of my childhood bedroom. My first dog was a rough collie dog. I had her for my 10th birthday and I loved her. And I can remember on my windowsill, pride of place, I had this ornament of a collie, which I have tried to track down everywhere. The ones that are identical to the one I had go for a lot of money now, more money than I've been able to afford. But what was on the shelf in the glass cabinet? Exactly the same ornament that I've been searching for years. Now, this was really expensive for a cheap charity shop. This was still £10 in the glass cabinet, which for me is such a lot of money to spend in a charity shop. Normally, if things are more than £3, I won't buy them, but I know that online this particular ornament goes for a lot more, and this is exactly the ornament that I had in my bedroom, literally exactly the same one. When I saw it, my jaw just dropped to the floor. I knew there was a call back to that shop for some reason, not only for the swans, not only for the horcruxes to bring in light, not only for Morrigan chandeliers, but this. I think this is the object that called me in. And with this, there are two parts of me that come back. There's the part of me that was only allowed to spend 30 pence for Christmas presents on myself, and there's the part of me that would sit in my yellow and brown bedroom as a little kid and hide away. So that little trip out to the charity shop was my winter self-care routine or spell, a spell with really clear answers at the end of it, but not just a spell, not just a trip to the charity shop, but a quest for my own personal horcruxes and listening to the calls and the memories of where you need to go to find them. So will you take up the challenge of a personal horcrux hunt? Let me know if you do, and happy hunting.